WFYI podcasts are brought to you by TechPoint, presenting the 25th Annual Best of Tech Mira Awards, recognizing digital innovation across Indiana, April 26th at Old National Center. More, including how to nominate, at miraawards.com.
This is WFYI News Now. It's January 2nd, and I'm Darian Benson. Later in the show, 50,000 Americans died by suicide in 2022, the highest rate since 1941.
They're losing their friends, friends are dying and their social networks are literally shrinking.
That's coming up, but first, these headlines. Early childhood education is likely to be a key topic of debate in the upcoming legislative session. Kirsten Adair reports that, among other things, legislators are debating the merits of moving up the age Indiana kids are required to start school.
Senator Greg Taylor wants to expand early education and move up the age at which children are required to go to school. He says when kids start school later, they're missing out on crucial learning years.
In the state of Indiana, you are not compelled to send your child to school until they're 7. Not 5, 7.
Taylor says he has proposed that change for the past 6 years, but the idea has not been passed into law. This year, he's hoping pre-K and early learning expansions will receive bipartisan support. Lawmakers expanded eligibility for state pre-K programs last year. Senate Majority Leader Roderick Bray says he's not sure about the efficacy of pre-K programs.
There's some data out there, frankly, that seems counterintuitive to me, that suggests that it's not particularly helpful.
Bray says he wants to make sure lawmakers are spending money responsibly. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Kirsten Adair.
In more news out of the State House, Eric Holcomb says the top priority for his final year in office will be providing more awareness and access to existing state resources. Holcomb is heading into his 8th year as governor, and he's term limited from running for another term. He says too many state programs, such as job training, are working for some people but aren't being used by others who could benefit from them.
And you can just drown in this sea of acronyms or state programs and wonder if it's available to you.
Holcomb says part of the work will focus on helping people connect what they hear about state government to their own lives. As an example, Holcomb notes that the Indiana Economic Development Corporation has more capital investment in the last 2 years than it had in the first 12 years since it was created. But what does that mean to the average Hoosier?
This CapEx means opportunity. They know it means an average career of $75,000, $36.07, and where those opportunities are.
Holcomb says he'll be traveling the state more in his final year as part of that outreach. And the Indiana Department of Transportation plans to invest more than $600 million in rest area improvements over the next 10 years. Violet Comber-Weiland reports these improvements will apply to 21 rest areas and welcome centers throughout the state.
The construction of 2 new welcome centers is underway, while 6 more welcome centers will be constructed during the project. For new and existing rest areas, INDOT plans to improve restrooms, water fountains, vending surfaces, picnic areas, and other services. The project will also add over 1,000 more parking spots for semi-trailers at these rest areas and welcome centers. Some rest areas may also have additional amenities, such as showers for truck drivers. The project will also include shutting down several rest areas, including the Wolcott Rest Area in western Indiana and the eastbound Nancy Hanks Rest Area near Evansville. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Violet Comber-Weiland.
A new study found that physicians with disabilities earn less than those without disabilities in the U.S. Farah Yusri reports this is part of a broader earning gap even beyond medicine.
Workers with disabilities earn less than those without disabilities across industries. That disparity hasn't been well measured among doctors. This new study, published in the journal JAMA Network, found that physicians who have a disability earned around 20% less per year compared to those without disabilities. Their hourly income was also around 13% lower. These disparities exist even when researchers controlled for the number of hours worked and for the medical specialty of the physicians. The study authors say that measuring these earning gaps is important as more people with disabilities go into the field of medicine. They continue to face challenges in medical education and mistreatment at work. Farah Yusri, Side Effects Public Media.
And for our final story today, nearly 50,000 Americans died by suicide in 2022, the highest rate in decades. That's according to recent data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. From our Midwest Health Reporting Collaboration Side Effects Public Media, Natalie Krebs has more.
The provisional data show nearly 50,000 Americans died in 2022, a 3% increase from the previous year and the highest rate since 1941. The data show that Americans aged 65 and older saw the biggest increase in suicide death rates compared to any other age group from 2021 to 2022. Jonathan Platt is an assistant professor of epidemiology at the University of Iowa. He says older Americans are prone to social isolation and financial instability.
They're more economically precarious oftentimes. They're losing their friends. Friends are dying and their social networks are literally shrinking.
On the other hand, rates for young people ages 10 to 24 dropped 8%. I'm Natalie Krebs, Side Effects Public Media.
More than 1,100 people in Indiana died by suicide in 2021, as shown by the latest data from the CDC. If you or someone you know is thinking about suicide and seeking emotional support, there are crisis lines available 24/7 via phone, chat, or text. You can call 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by the following people who live in your community: Abriana Herron, Drew Daudelin, Kendall Antron, who composed the music for this podcast, and me, Darian Benson. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. If you liked today's episode, remember to subscribe and share. And follow WFYI on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.
WFYI podcasts are brought to you by TechPoint, presenting the 25th Annual Best of Tech Mira Awards, recognizing digital innovation across Indiana, April 26th at Old National Center. More, including how to nominate, at miraawards.com.